Alright, welcome back to this lesson, and in this lesson I want us to implement pagination. So if you recall, if we have, for example, 20 records, we could ask for a particular page. So for example, if I ask for page 1 and I say that the page size is 5, I'm really asking for the first 5 records. If I then go on to say page 2 and keeping the page size as 5, all I'm really saying is give me record 6 to 10. So this would be 1 to 5 will be returned, and this would be on page 2 6 to 10. Alright, so keep in mind that our data could be quite a lot, and so instead of having 1,000 records returned to us, we can specify how many should be returned to us at any given moment. All right, so pagination. Right, that's the term that we use for that concept. So there are only two things we need to consider or to deal with when we look at pagination. We need to be able to calculate the offset and the limit. Okay, the limit simply tells the database how many records to return, and the offset simply says how many records should be skipped so that I end up where I need to end up. So for example, page 2 means that you have to skip the first 5 records to get to record 6 to 10. And so that's where the offset in your DBMS command or your SQL command comes in. Alright, so keep those two concepts in mind, limit and offset. The limit is how many records should be returned, page size, and the offset is how many records should be skipped, page. Right, so we need to extend our query, and before I do that, I just want to create two helper methods which will help make us achieve this much quicker. And the first one is to simply create a method that helps us to calculate the limit. Right, so I'm going to create a method named limit. So the limit method determines the limit. All right, and so we're going to have filters, and so limit will simply return an int. All right, and so we'll simply return f dot page size. Okay, so the page size corresponds to the limit. So page size is our limit. All right, and the next thing is to calculate the offset. So the offset method calculates the offset. Okay, and that's easy enough. To calculate the offset, all we have to do is to take the page value. So f.page. So if, for example, if they say page 2, then all we have to do is subtract 1, and whatever value we get, we multiply that by the page size. Okay. And that will compute the specific records that should be skipped. So let's do a quick test of it. If I ask for page 2, then the DBMS will say that the offset will be 2 minus 1, 1, And then 1 will be multiplied by page size, which was 5. And so the offset will be 5. And so the DBMS will skip records 1 to 5, and it will start counting at record number 6. Alright? Alright, with that out of the way, let's go back to our get all query or method, and we'll just make the change here. And it's a very simple change. All we need to do is to add the limit and the offset statements. So let's just put this down here, and I will have limit. So now I can go back to using a placeholder. So modulus $4, and then the offset is $5. Alright, so notice we can now use back our placeholders. And the reason is because, unlike what we did here with order by, we know what the page and page size, what their values are. Okay, and we know that limit and offset, they're fixed. We don't need to change those. Okay, so that's easy enough. Let's run our query, but we'll have to pass those in. Alright, so I have filters. Yeah, I have filters, so I could always just pass those in. So I could say filters that limit. Alright, and then I could say filters that offset. Okay. Okay, let's just remove all the arguments and put them in a arg variable, just to keep things I guess nice and neat. So up here I will just create an args variable. Okay, so let's just say args, and we're gonna have an interface type, and it will contain our parameters, our values to the query. Okay, great. So now I can just put that in here, args. Okay. Okay, great. So that's it. All we have to do now is to do a test to see if it works. So let me open a new terminal. And let's try our commands or requests. Alright, so I should get back the first page, which contains 5 records. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. And if I want the second page, then I could easily say give me page 2. All right. Likewise, I could say give me page maybe 4. Okay. And is there a page 5? Let's see. Yep, there are 2 records in page 5. And so what would happen if I ask for a page 6? Right, there are no more records. All right. I could also ask and say, you know what? I'm not concerned about the page. Just give me records, 3 records, 1 to 3. Right? And we have 1, 2, 3. So it's working. Right? It's working. And again, all we had to do was to compute the page size and the limit and the offset, and then we use these helper methods in our actual query, which is up here. All right, so limit $4 offset $5, which we know are the ones provided here, right? $1, $2, $3, $4, and $5. And so that's it. Rather straightforward. In the next lesson, I want to extend our pagination to be able to contain metadata so that we can specify, for example, how many records were listed, what would be the next record to be shown if you ask for a next page, so on and so forth. So metadata for pagination. I'll see you in that lesson.